Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today we bring you one of the strangest and most heartbreaking true crime mysteries ever recorded on American soil. The baffling case of the Yuba County Five. When we talk about unsolved mysteries with utterly inexplicable circumstances, we often cite the Dyatlov Pass incident in the cold Russian mountains. We discuss the strange injuries, the partial clothing, and the endless, outlandish theories. A Yeti attack, Cold War operatives, or maybe infrasound. But what if I told you there's an equally strange, equally terrifying story right here in the United States? Due to the chilling, unexplainable similarities to the Russian tragedy, this case earned a grim nickname, the American Dyatlov Pass. Join us on this episode as we dive deep into the confusing and utterly chilling tale of these five young men. Our story begins in the winter of 1978 in Yuba City, California. This is where we meet the five young men affectionately known to their community as the Boys. They were bound by a shared bond. Though each had intellectual disabilities, they were unified by their absolute, unwavering love for basketball. They played on a team called the Gateway Gators at the Yuba City Rehabilitation Center, and they were practicing hard. The entire team was buzzing about their first big tournament, scheduled for February 25th, sponsored by the Special Olympics. The grand prize was a paid, week-long vacation to Los Angeles, a dream for these friends. Their conversations revolved entirely around the sport, focusing on college games, studying their favorite players, and strategizing for their own big moment. The night before the game, February 24th, 1978. The boys were radiating anticipation. Ted Weiher had his mother wash his new white sneakers and told her, "Don't let me oversleep. We have a big game tomorrow." Instead of resting, they climbed into Jack Madruga's prized 1969 Mercury Montego. Their destination was Chico, California, nearly 50 miles away, to watch their favorite team play. They had a great night. Their team won. Around 10 p.m., they piled back into the Montego, making one last, brief stop at Bears Market in downtown Chico. They bought a variety of snacks, mildly annoying the clerk who was trying to close up for the night. That clerk would be one of the last reliable witnesses to see all five of them together, alive, and seemingly perfectly fine. The next morning, the beds were empty. Ted Weiher's mother panicked, quickly confirming with other parents that all the boys were gone. This was totally unlike them. They never missed commitments, and they were never late. A full-scale missing persons investigation was launched. Within days, the first, most baffling clue surfaced from a radio broadcast. A man named Joe Shans reported seeing the Mercury Montego in the mountains, an area called Rogers Cow Camp in the Plumas National Forest. These mountains were 70 miles from Chico, located far off any direct, logical route back to Yuba City. Why would they drive 2 hours in the exact opposite direction of home, especially on the night before their biggest game? This question alone remains one of the greatest riddles of this entire tragedy. Joe Shans's account is crucial and deeply unsettling. He had been checking the rough mountain road for skiing conditions when his Volkswagen became stuck in the heavy snow. While trying to push his vehicle out, Shans suffered a heart attack, leaving him stranded and desperate. He soon saw 2 sets of headlights and watched a group of men, along with a woman and a baby, exit a pickup truck. Thinking he was saved, Sean screamed out for help, but his calls went completely unanswered. In a bizarre, inexplicable silence, he watched the entire group simply walk off into the deep, dark woods, ignoring his pleas completely. This inexplicable abandonment adds a layer of human strangeness to the start of this mystery. Shans eventually managed to walk 8 miles to safety, and on his descent, he passed an abandoned 1969 Mercury Montego, the Yuba County Five's car. When investigators reached the site, their confusion only grew. Inside the car, they found the snack wrappers and the neatly folded road map, confirming the group's presence. The car was stuck in a minor snowdrift, but it was easily removable. 5 healthy young men could have pushed it out without issue. Even more perplexing, the keys were missing, yet the car started instantly when hot-wired, with a quarter tank of gas remaining. The vehicle was perfectly functional. Why abandon it? Why not simply push it free and drive home to their big game? The car presented another impossibility that defies simple explanation. Once removed and fully examined, the Montego's undercarriage was discovered to be completely undamaged. The road it was found on was a rough, rutted logging track full of massive bumps and debris, a road that should have ripped the muffler off or caused significant scrapes. Jack Madruga, the owner, was notoriously protective of his car and never let anyone else drive it. The only rational conclusion investigators could draw was one of two things. Either Jack Madruga drove with supernatural care, or someone else, someone extremely familiar with the treacherous mountain terrain, drove the car up that road and abandoned it there. Madruga's family insisted he never, under any circumstances, left his car unlocked, yet the Montego was found unlocked with a window down. Months later, in June, after the snow had melted, a group of motorcyclists found a remote, forgotten Forest Service trailer, 19 miles from where the car was abandoned. The horrific smell of decay led them inside. There, they found the remains of Ted Weiher, wrapped in 8 sheets. He had lost nearly 100 pounds, and a long beard suggested he had survived for up to 13 weeks before succumbing to hypothermia and starvation. But the scene was illogical, creating the biggest clue of all. The trailer was stocked with matches, kindling, and dozens of C-ration cans, enough food to sustain 5 men for a year. Crucially, the supplies were untouched. The core paradox of this entire case lies in that trailer. Why didn't Ted Weiher start a fire, especially when there was a propane tank outside that could have heated the entire structure? Why didn't he eat the military rations that were right next to him? The men had traveled 19 miles on foot through deep snow, presumably starving and freezing, yet they refused to use the resources that could have saved them. Additionally, inside the trailer, investigators found the shoes of Gary Mathias, who was never found. This suggests Mathias made it to the trailer at some point, swapping his shoes for Weiher's, perhaps due to severe frostbite. Gary Mathias simply vanished from the face of the earth, leaving only his footwear behind as evidence of his presence. The only explanation that makes sense is an appeal to the unknown, something beyond human comprehension. What if these men were not simply lost, but victims of an external, powerful, and terrifying force? Let's consider the dimensional rift theory. The boys were driving home, and in an instant, a localized vortex or temporal slip, a pure Skinwalker Ranch type event, displaced them 70 miles off course on a remote mountain road. This sudden, violent psychological shock would explain their confusion, their irrational decision to abandon a working car, and their immediate flight. The silent group Sean's saw walking into the woods could have been an effect of the rift, or perhaps even a strange cryptid or entity that was drawn to the disturbance, causing profound paranoia. This pervasive, paralyzing paranoia, a psychic shadow lingering from the rift, might be the reason for the untouched food and the unlit fire. They may have genuinely believed that a fire or the opening of a can would alert whatever powerful entity moved them, or perhaps worse, whatever entity was pursuing them. They were terrified of giving away their location. Meanwhile, the remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling were found 11 miles from the car, lying on opposite sides of the road. Their final act, in the throes of hypothermia, was giving in to sleep, refusing to leave each other's side. The only man who remains missing, Gary Mathias, was already psychologically fragile. Did the extreme fear or the lingering effects of the displacement finally push him over the edge, leading him into the woods forever? Or was he finally taken by the mysterious force that started this whole ordeal? The Yuba County Five remains one of the most impenetrable cases in American history. It's a series of non-decisions and irrational acts that simply cannot be explained by accident or simple human error. The questions pile up relentlessly. Who drove the car up the mountain? Why was the food untouched? Where did Gary Mathias go? We here at Beyond Unknown believe this is far more than an accident. It is an American legend of the unexplained, where a group of innocent young men encountered something truly terrifying and otherworldly. We can only hope that one day the truth surrounding this tragedy is fully revealed and the families finally get the closure they so desperately deserve. What do you make of this strange case, friends? Was it a dimensional rift, a terrifying encounter, or something else entirely? Let us know in the comments. Be safe out there. I'll talk to you next time.